We're breaking down the playoff picture by focusing on some ill-fated decisions from this weekend. Let's begin with a decision that I think most of us at PFT are on board with as being critical of. A lot of people, though, have defended Jon Gruden for choosing to put the brakes on the offense close to the end zone with a minute or so left in the ill-fated game against the Miami Dolphins. Here's Gruden explaining why he played for a field goal and not a touchdown.
Yeah, I have a regret because, we lost the game on the most horrific play I've ever been associated with, But no, we study analytics. People don't think we study analytics. The analytics say that was a great move. That's why analytics don't know anything either, Jerry. But no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't have any regrets. You got 19 seconds left and no timeouts at the minus 25-yard line. And for us to not get off the field with a victory is it's a shame, it's a disgrace, and it's a reflection of me only. We got to do a lot better job than that.
It's very easy to fall on the sword when the sword is guaranteed to never actually cut you, isn't it? I mean, because I admire Jon Gruden for taking the blame. Mark Davis isn't going to fire him. You take the blame for everything. Take the blame for anything. If nothing is actually going to happen to you by taking the blame, take all the blame. Take every bit of blame out there. He's golden. He's safe. He's fine. Oh, it's all my fault. Yeah, because Mark Davis is never going to roll into Jon Gruden's office and say, pack up your stuff and get out of here. So that has nothing to do with the decision. I'm not going to fall into this camp of, it's very admirable for Jon Gruden to take the blame. Charean, we went through this a week ago. He is in the best situation of any coach in the NFL. He can't be fired. He won't be fired, even if he does things that reasonably can be disputed, like going for a field goal when he should have gone for a touchdown.
No question, Mike, and I'm not sure why people don't, other than you, question Jon Gruden more and some of the decisions he's made, because they've been terrible. And that defense is awful, and he handpicked some of those guys that were on the defensive side that haven't produced for him. And he picked the coach who was the defensive coordinator until he was fired a couple weeks ago. So all those decisions that Jon Gruden has made have not worked out. And if he was on any other team, in any other situation, he definitely would be on the hot seat. But because of where he is and how long his contract is, and he won a Super Bowl, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, Mike. So the Raiders are where they are, and they're probably in the same spot next year and the year after.
As to the decision, and look, I have no problem with Josh Jacobs taking the knee at the 1 because there was a minute 50 left at the time.
Right.
But when there's 1:05 on the clock on 3rd and goal and they have no timeouts, I say try to score the touchdown. You get the 2-pointer. You're up 7. You can defend the end zone with what would have been, if you take it all the way down, the play clock all the way down, would have been about a minute. You got a minute, you defend the end zone, and I feel better about that than try to defend the field goal. Now, it took a fluke play. It took one of the craziest things we've ever seen. It took the Linda Blair exorcist routine from Ryan Fitzpatrick as he's throwing the ball, getting his head twisted around, and then the extra 15 yards on top of it to get in field goal range. But I get that, but I'd still be more comfortable defending the end zone with a minute than defending roughly 35 or 40 yards with 20 seconds.
Yeah, a couple observations, Mike. I get that the Raiders lost that game to the Chiefs when they left too much time on the clock on the Jason Witten touchdown. But you also have to remember that they were not playing Patrick Mahomes on Saturday. They were playing Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Miami Dolphins backup quarterback. So he wasn't Patrick Mahomes. And to have him think that he's going to go down and deliver a touchdown with a minute or less on the clock probably is unrealistic. You can probably, unless you play cover 0 like Greg Williams did, can defend the end zone. And the Raiders should have known that because they were on the other end of the cover 0 play. against the Jets when they won that game. So that's the first thing, Mike. But the second thing is, if you're Jon Gruden and you choose to do what you did, okay, you're going to have him take a knee. And I made this point on Twitter, and I think you called me Charean Belichick. But if you're going to do that move, you have every single offensive lineman.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
Well, you have every single offensive lineman, every single receiver, every single tight end. Spread them out however you need to spread them out. You say you hold. Grab them, hold them, take them to the ground. I don't care what you do. Do not let them back to the quarterback. In the meantime, Derek Carr is backing up 10 yards, and he's standing there and maybe moving around a little bit. If the rush is coming from one side, you can go to the other side or whatever you want to do. But you're burning off probably another 6, 8, 10 seconds, whatever it is, and then you take the knee. Of course, flags are all over the place for holding. They're going to turn down the holding penalty because it's 10 yards anyway. They want the ball back. Then you kick the field goal. If your kicker can't make that short field goal, I realize he had missed a PAT earlier, but if he can't make that field goal 10 yards farther back, he doesn't deserve to be kicking in the NFL. Daniel Carlson would have made that field goal 10 yards back. Then there is less time for Miami to do what it did. So that was my problem if you're going to do what he did. But I would have scored the touchdown like you. It is much harder for Miami then to drive down, and even with more time, to drive down and score a touchdown than to get in field goal range. And they have, frankly, they have one of the best kickers in the NFL.
I need to look this up, but I remember, and I think it was Chip Kelly with the 49ers. They were committing defensive holding over and over and over again down near the goal line.
I remember that.
And it was just half the distance, chewing up clock time while having them run a play, deliberately hold. There's less time. And they ended up changing the rules on that. And, of course, what they would have done with something like this, they would change the rules next year, would make a difference. That's where Bill Belichick, and that's why I called you Charean Belichick, it's understanding the rule book, understanding where the loopholes are, and understanding how to violate the spirit of the rule, but not violate the rule itself in a way that will provoke a change to the rules. It's identifying those weaknesses in the rules that let you do something that will piss everyone off. Sorry, London, we're not on London today, so I can say it, piss everyone off, but help you get to your goal of winning the game. Now, the Dolphins got to their goal of winning the game because, for the second time during the starting quarterback career of rookie Tua Tagovailoa, who took over after Ryan Fitzpatrick was benched, Tagovailoa, during a game, benched, and in came Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it worked. So, now the question is, what should the Dolphins do? Brian Flores, the coach of the team, Charean has already said, Tua is a starter. I think the leash is going to be shorter now. The more that you do the Fitzmagic routine, the quicker you're going to have people on the sidelines looking at Flores saying, when are you putting in Fitzpatrick if Tua Tagovailoa is struggling? And for Tagovailoa, the challenge is not constantly looking over at the sideline after every mistake saying, when's he going to take me out? I credit Tagovailoa for being sufficiently mentally tough to not crumble in the face of that. But I just don't. The thing that I love about this, it's great, it's different, it's fun, but it doesn't seem sustainable, does it?
Well, it works for them, and I think it works because of the two quarterbacks who are there, and I don't think it would work anywhere else. Ryan Fitzpatrick, like Nick Foles, to me, is not a starting quarterback. The Bucs thought they could do that with him over Jameis Winston. It didn't work out. They went back to Jameis. The Jets tried it. The Bills tried it. So many teams have tried it. The Texans tried it. That's why he is a journeyman quarterback. That's why he is best served as a backup quarterback, and he is in a great role, and he handles that role terrific. And Brian Flores almost apologized for calling him a relief pitcher, but I think that's exactly what he is. And I think he's a really good backup who I would want on my team any day of the week as my backup quarterback. I would not want Ryan Fitzpatrick on my team as a starting quarterback because he has proved year after year after year he cannot win enough games to get you to the playoffs as a starting quarterback. But he is really good in that role, and Tua seems to really be okay when Fitzpatrick comes in because of Ryan Fitzpatrick being Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think this can work in Miami. I don't know that it can work anywhere else in the NFL, aside from maybe Chicago with Trubisky and possibly Foles, who've kind of sort of done that same thing this year, but the Bears tried to make Nick the starter, and it didn't work out for them, and now they're back to Trubisky, and Foles is back where he belongs as the backup quarterback. But I do think this can work, Mike, at least in the short term. And I said on Twitter after Saturday night, I would go sign Ryan Fitzpatrick right now and say, we want you back next year, whatever, please come back and be our relief pitcher once again. I don't know if he'd do it or not, and he is getting up there in age, but I certainly would want him back.
As long as everyone's on board with it. Brian Flores knows how to make it work. Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't complain when Tua is instantly installed as the starter again after each game where Fitzpatrick comes in, and Tua's okay with it. Then we're fine. We're fine. But I just there's just this nagging feeling that it's not something that can sustain itself beyond this season. You can get away with it this season. It can't be the plan for 2021. You've got to believe in your guy. And the other thing about this that I credit Flores for just making it work. There's no one complaining about it. There's no schism in the locker. Remember that term when the Vikings acquired Brett Favre, and there was a schism because there were guys who believed in Tavares Jackson until they saw Brett Favre practice one time. Then that schism was resolved. But there's no talk about anybody being not on board with any of this stuff. And that's a credit to Flores. And he knows that you can only use Fitzpatrick in certain doses. The Fitzmagic disappears. He doesn't push it. If you go with him too often, he's eventually going to flip the other way. So Flores gets it, and I like it. And next year it may be a different quarterback, it may be a different position, it may be a different dynamic. But Flores has a great instinct for his team, and I think that's the good news. The bad news is this, Charean, and I want to see if you agree with me on this. If I'm a Dolphins fan, and I tweeted this after the game, and I don't want to rain on their parade. It was a great night, even though they still may miss the playoffs. If I'm a Dolphins fan, I can't shake the feeling that we drafted the wrong guy and that they should have taken Justin Herbert.
No question. Absolutely agree with you. I mean, you just compare what Justin Herbert has done compared to what Tua has done. There has to be that question right now. Maybe he works out. The Dolphins have to hope he does. But I do think, sincerely, there is that doubt right now, and there's doubt within that organization that they picked the wrong guy because of what Herbert has done with the Chargers this year. He's been fantastic, probably one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've ever seen in history. And I think he's going to be an outstanding pro quarterback, an all-pro, perhaps, but for sure Pro Bowls are coming his way. And I don't see that with Tua yet. And maybe it's he hasn't played enough, whatever. But you remember Herbert came out in his first game and wasn't supposed to play that day because of the injury to Tyrod Taylor, the punctured lung, that he got in there, and he looked great in his first game with over 300 yards. So it didn't take him long to really adapt to the game like it's taken Tua.
And look, the naysayers and or the Dolphins fans that would prefer to be blissful in their ignorance, not that they're ignorant, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. It's just serenity now, plug your ears, I'm not listening, that kind of ignorance, deliberate ignoring what is going on, this idea that Herbert has this much greater array of weapons. And it's not about the weapons, it's about the guy. The guy is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. And it hurts me to say it because Tua's spectacular. He's got a great personality. He's a great leader. He's got the potential to be special. But right out of the gates, Herbert's the guy. And if I'm a Dolphins fan, the thing that I wake up at night and worry about from time to time is we took the wrong guy. As we put a button on this segment, let's pull up that graphic again of the teams to the left. Okay, it's time for us to go on the spot and say which of those teams with 10 wins, and there may be one with 11, who, Charean, is not going to make it out of the Titans, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Ravens, or the Browns? Who is the butt that doesn't have a seat when the music stops playing?
I think, unfortunately, it's the Browns, and they've had a great season. But, I mean, if you can't beat the Jets, you probably don't deserve to go anyway, right? And I realize what they were working with or not working with in that game yesterday. But that was a huge, terrible loss. And I don't see them beating Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is going to take joy in keeping the Browns out of the playoffs. And I think they're going to do every possible thing they can to keep the Browns out of the playoffs. And I don't think any of the other scenarios are going to go their way. So I think the Browns are going to be the team that's going to be out.
We'll get more clues tomorrow from Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, when he addresses the media. He does it every Tuesday right around noon. I think he's going to give his guys a break. They haven't had a true bye week this year. Week 4 was supposed to be their game against the Titans. Their bye was week 7. They prepared for the game, then didn't play it. It got bumped to week 7. Bye-bye to the bye week. Then they were going to get the mini bye on the back end of the Thanksgiving game. They prepared for that. It got kicked forward 6 days. Bye-bye to the mini bye. So they don't need this game. And I haven't, and I don't care about the permutations 2, 3, and 4 and who you play and who you may not play in the wild card round. We'll sort all that out on Sunday. There's too many moving parts. But I don't think that knocking the Browns out outweighs the importance of just trying to get your guys a game off, to get some rest, and to retool and get ready for what's coming in the wild card round, Charean, especially when you be going against a team that's playing the game like a playoff game.
Well, and I agree to that in some respects. Maybe they just play a half. I do think they play part of it. I think they need to play part of it, and I get it. They're tired. They've said they're tired. They're mentally tired. They're physically tired. But I also know that they have not looked like a good football team. Even yesterday in the first half, they didn't look good. And to me, you need those reps, and you need to keep working and trying to figure out what went wrong. I think they play some. I would hope they would play some just to kind of get that rhythm going and keep it going from the second half yesterday. But maybe they don't. Maybe Tomlin thinks that total rest is much better for a bunch of the starters, including Ben Roethlisberger. But how about that scenario, Mike? Could we see Mason Rudolph against Myles Garrett on Sunday?
Oh,
that would be exciting.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.